I never understood racing as a sport. I think watching that is like watching horseradish rot. But it's so funny because after watching this film, it made me want to watch some racing. Then I did, and I realized how much of a chore watching a 24-hour race is. But who in their nipples cares right now? Because Gran Turismo is actually a good video game movie. But if you don't know, Gran Turismo is a film directed by Neil Blomkamp that is based on the true story of Yann Mardenborough, who is a Gran Turismo video game junkie who gets the opportunity to actually race in a real race with cars, thanks to his gamer skills, and tries to vroom his way to the podium. Now, even though I said that this is a video game movie, I do have to mention that this is a video game movie with an asterisk, because this is more of a biopic, and Gran Turismo the game is simply featured as a racing simulator in the movie. So that did make me think that this film wasn't going to have that much to do with the game, and the reality is that the game didn't have much representation in the movie, other than it simply being there like a hot zit. But the reality is that this movie was representation for gamers, all us gunky, Fazer Blaster gamers all over the world. Because the movie shows that success and achieving a dream can really come from any corner of your life, and that's something that doesn't really show up in underdog movies, especially sports movies. Like, that passion to make you want to clench your cheeks and get a gold medal always has to come from something practical or conventional or something stupid like your pet dog, which as a result, I now have to find a purpose because of that. But no, somebody found success in their life through something as wonky and weird as a video game, and it was awesome to see. And another thing I want to say that was awesome to see was the incredible acting in this film, because this movie had a three-headed dragon leading the pack, with first of all, Orlando Bloom giving a really charismatic and authoritative performance in this movie. Like, every single line he says it with so much chest and gusto, like he's ready to beat up a kangaroo. Then we got Archie Madekwe, who gives a natural and emotional performance throughout the film, and I don't know where this kid came from in the back rooms of Hollywood, but he deserves some bigger roles, but stay away from the MCU. But the goofy gobbler who really stole the show is David Harbour, who gave a borderline Oscar-worthy performance in this film, and I say borderline because a movie like this would never get recognized at the Oscars. But besides the point, it looks like Harbour's acting without knowing that there's a camera on him. That's how good of a performer he actually is. This film also stars Jee-Man Hounsou, who plays the father in this movie and is the main Teletubby who doubts his son Yann from thinking that video games can make him a professional Mario Kart racer. And you may have heard this many times, but he was heavily underutilized in this film, and he probably only got 15 minutes of screen time, but he made every single minute count, and arguably had one of the best scenes in the film that actually made me tear up a bit. But that's enough of me getting googly eyes from the acting in this film. Let's talk about the film overall. Now, what I like about this movie is that not only did it make you feel like you were the actual racer, but it also made you know what it felt like to be a racer with gamer knowledge. Like, there were moments where Yann was envisioning lines on the track which were telling this piece of tartar sauce where to go. The car would also break apart like a dusty animatronic and put itself back together, and there were even certain camera angles that looked like you were playing a racing game, and all this gave the races an extra layer of thrill and uniqueness to it in comparison to a classic racing movie. But unfortunately for this buster, this raw dogging piece of cinema, this is where the differences and compliments end, because the complaints I have with this film, first of all, is that it is super predictable, and the fact that this movie was predictable probably should have been predictable, because this movie was marketed heavily as something based off of a true story. Like, I saw this tagline more than I saw my bum crack in my whole life. On top of that, this is an underdog sports movie, which means it has the entire grocery list of things that you need. Like, you got the underdog hero, the unreachable goal, the cocky nemesis, the father figure who isn't your father, and you got big tragedies. Like, this ticks all the boxes. On top of that, the structure of this film was also kind of wonky, because the first act of the movie was far more slow than you think, which is ironic because it's a racing movie. Like, watching the first chunk is like watching a wound heal. But when you get to the last two acts, the movie grabs you by the nipples and takes you on a thrilling and emotional ride. But look, despite the predictability, I would still highly recommend this movie. And if you know someone who doesn't watch movies often, or you want a nice tear-ejaculating film to watch with your family, Gran Turismo is an easy go-to pick. And plus, the other critiques people have for this film were super film snobby. Like, look at the Rotten Tomato score. These bum-suckling weasels clearly don't understand movies well enough to at least be fair with it. So yeah, this movie doesn't reinvent the condom, but it's good, and you should still watch it. 4 stars.